Hey, aloha, awake kako. I'm Chair John Pelletier. The Kona Community Development Action Committee will now come to order. The time is, it's Tuesday, June 9th, 2026, and the time is 12:05. Meeting is being held in person and via interactive conference technology. The meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the Planning Department's YouTube channel. Sunshine Law reminder for remote members, please keep your camera on and also state for the record, one, where you're participating from, and two, whether anyone is in the room with you except for minors. I think it's just Charlie on with us today. Charlie, you want to give the Olelo no to open up the meeting today?
Hello, everyone. My apologies, John. I didn't prepare one for today. I've been sort of caught up with a whole bunch of things this morning. So my apologies, but feel free, anyone, to offer one of their own. Thank you.
Oh man, there was one that I heard recently that is in my head. It's like He li'i ka aina, he kawa ke kanaka. Like, is it something like that? Yeah. So the land's the master, the man's the servant. Something like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah, right.
Thanks,
you, Charlie.
John.
Okay. We'll do a roll call. Start with the people in the room, people on Zoom, and planning staff.
You want to start?
I'm Charlotte Thompson. I'm from Kona. I'm on the CDP Action Committee.
I'm Nancy Sikio. I live in Keho and I'm the vice chair of the Action Committee.
Mentioned earlier, I'm Chair John Pelletier of the committee.
R.J. Kirshner, Kona, I'm on the committee.
Then Charlie.
Yeah, Charles Young from South Kona on the Action Committee. And there's no one else in this room except myself.
Thank you, Charlie. Then planning staff, if you all want to introduce yourself.
Aloha, Janice Hanso with the Planning Department.
I'm Brian Palmer with the Planning Department.
Jeff Eason with the Planning Department.
Hi, I'm Cabello Khalili with the Planning Department.
Right on it. I think Jessica is also online and Gina is online. Thank you both for being. Thank you everyone for being here today. Okay, some housekeeping. Please ensure that your cell phones are silenced. If you are here in person and wish to testify, please complete a sign-up form provided to the staff. If you're joining via Zoom and wish to testify, please use the raise hand feature or send a message into the chat to the Zoom host indicating the agenda item on which you wish to speak. All speakers are asked to clearly state their name for the record before beginning their testimony. For those attending in person, please direct your comments towards the owl, camera, and microphone so participants on Zoom can hear you clearly. As a reminder, we strive to conduct our meetings in the spirit of aloha, maintain an open and positive attitude, listen to understand, respect that everyone has the right to share their ideas and feel comfortable doing so. It is acceptable to disagree, but please do so respectfully. Focus on the issue, not the individual. One person speaks at a time with no side conversations. Minimize distractions by silencing cell phones and refraining from outside work during the meeting. In consideration of everyone's time, please adhere to the established time. Okay, we'll move to the approval of the minutes. The time is 12:09. Committee will consider approving the draft minutes from the May 12th, 2026 meeting. Does anyone have any corrections for the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion by Nancy to approve the minutes, seconded by RJ. Any discussion? Seeing none. Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes, please vote by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Okay, the time is 12:09. We will now take the public testimony on items that are on today's agenda. That on the agenda, members of the public may testify now or when a specific agenda item is called to order. Testimony may be limited to 3 minutes per agenda item. Please keep comments to matters within the committee's scope and related to the item you are addressing. Is there anyone in the room that'd like to testify? I got Josephine. Do you want to testify now or when the agenda item?
I'll do it now.
Okay, you can go for it.
Dear committee members, I think it's a big mistake to use climate change. Oh, I'm testifying in regards to Bill 66. Okay. And I'm Josephine from Kaibo, Kona. I think it's a big mistake to use climate change as a guiding policy in the General Plan 45 because it means that it will be used to explain all of our recent disasters, like the recent flooding in March. the recent 6.0 earthquake in South Kona 3 weeks ago, the drought in Hamakua last year, the rain we had in Kona almost every day last year, even during the summer, and the Lahaina fire in 2023, where it literally chased people out of their homes and caused many strange events, too many to mention here. Climate change, in my opinion, is a brainwashing technique where it keeps people from questioning the real cause of our disasters and fails to encourage critical thinking. According to the real scientists of the CO2 coalition, CO2, carbon dioxide is essential for life. CO2 is plant food, yet this general plan demonizes it. That's a big red flag. Thank you.
Thank you, Josephine. Yeah, I'll note that Shane just showed up. Shane's here.
Okay,
Shane, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, hello, Shane Nelson from South Kona.
Awesome. Thank you, Shane, for being here today.
Yep.
Okay, Jeff, did you want to testify on anything? No? Okay, we'll go to Zoom. It looks like
My name.
Thank you.
looks like Janice has her hand raised. Janice, you want to testify?
Aloha, hold on. Yes, I do. Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name's Janice Paul McGlenny, testifying on Bill 147. I also wanted to mention the chat isn't operating. So just since you mentioned, if somebody wants to let you know if they want to testify, the chat isn't available. Bill 147 is complicated and doesn't do what the general public wants it to do, which is limit the amount of STVRs, vacation rentals. Local residents want and need affordable and workforce housing. From here to Timbuktu, there are numbers and other information showing the negative impacts of short-term vacation rentals on the availability and price of local housing. As I've put forth on several occasions, STVRs could easily be limited to resort nodes with one compromising exception, that homeowners live on site. Being hosted, quote unquote, is not enough, as it leads to having on-site staff looking out solely for the well-being of the owner of the property, not the neighborhood or the neighbors. With this one simple change, many of the reasons people are in support of short-term rentals and that others are opposed could be handled in a way that will start to limit the amount and proliferation of rentals, thereby providing an avenue to having more widely embraced B&B type short-term rentals while helping to lower the cost of resident housing by increasing its availability. And thanks so much, by the way, for the CDP's Action Committee's testimony about this bill. I think it really made a difference. Thanks.
Thank you, Janice. Is there anyone else that would wish to testify on the agenda? Looks like no. Okay, and I'm going to note the written testimony we received from Lori Walsh on Bill 147. It's attached to our agenda, or our packet, I should say. Thank you, Lori. Okay. We'll move on to third-party reports, government officials. Is there a government official that wishes to give a third-party report? We sort of got some, but they're good. They're talking. All right, so we'll move on to the business. The time is 12:14. We'll now move on to committee business. First, we'll go to item 1, introduction to the Tree City USA program. Presentation by Le'a Ka'ahaina of the Kaulunani Urban and Community Forestry Program regarding the Tree City USA program, including an overview of the program's purpose, eligibility requirements, benefits, and opportunities for community participation, discussion, and potential acts. Would anyone wish to testify on this agenda item before we go to the presentation? Seeing none, Le'a, whenever you're ready, we're ready for you.
Okay, great. I'm just going to try to share my screen. Oh, it says sharing is not turned on. Can I request? Send request. Okay. I sent a request. Hopefully.
There you go, we allowed it.
You should be good now, Le'a.
Okay. Okay, how's that?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Aloha mai kākou, e ko'u mau hoa makamoko ke ave o au no o le'a ka aha aina no Waimanalo o ahu mai au. Hello everyone, my name is Le'a ka aha aina. I am from Waimanalo here on Oahu, but I lived in Hilo and Volcano for about 8 years, so it's wonderful to talk with you folks today. I work with Ko'ulunani, the Urban and Community Forestry Program for the state of Hawaii. And thank you for having me, allowing me to share more about the Tree City USA program. I'll share some of the requirements, the benefits, and then opportunities for further community participation and engagement in this program. I'll also share a little bit about Ko'ulunani and what we do to support communities across the Pai'aina in growing our community forests. We have some different programs that I'll just touch on briefly, and then I'll get into the Tree City program. So we are Ko'ulunani. We're the Urban and Community Forestry Program for the state. We are housed within the Department of Land and Natural Resources, Division of Forestry and Wildlife. Our mission is to support all of Hawaii's communities to cultivate well-being and resilience through growing relationships with the trees and forests where we live, work, learn, and play. So what is the community forest? Where is it? What does it look like? We like to say that it's the trees in our parks, along our streets. It's the trees in our yards and our subdivisions. It's the trees on our school campuses. It's our public trees. So that's just a brief overview of what it could be, but it's not just the trees, right? It's all of the elements that come together to make the forest, like other plants, soil, animals, sunlight, and of course, people. People are an important part of our community forests. From a Hawaii perspective, we can say that our forests, our community forests are in the Wau Kanaka, or the realm of the Kanaka, the people. So yeah, just some different ways of imagining our community forest. I love this image that's also behind me that really brings to life Hawaii's community forests, highlighting that when we grow trees, we sustain community. E ulu la'au ha'anai kaya ulu. To recognize that when we care for trees, trees take care of us. Some benefits of trees. Trees help us improve water and air quality, climate resilience, equity, food security, human health, education, economy, and community safety. And so at Ko'ulunani, we have these different program areas that help communities across our islands to grow trees, plant trees, care for trees, and any associated activities with that. I'll talk more, of course, about the Tree City program, but I do want to highlight our grant program, where we are able to offer grants to community partners, such as nonprofit organizations, as well as county governments, to grow their community forests. We also support Arbor Day Hawaii, which is the second Friday in November every year. And we also have 2 on-the-ground programs, our Community Coconut Program and Shade Trees for Schools program. You can learn about all of these and all the work that we do on our website, ko'ulunani.org, and I'll share a link a little bit later, but just wanted to share that. Okay, so now getting into the Tree City program. So at Ko'ulunani, we support 3 tree recognition programs at the state level. These are all administered by the Arbor Day Foundation, which is a nonprofit that works to help communities around the world plant and care for trees. The original and oldest program is Tree City USA that began in 1976. But we also support the Tree Campus programs, higher education, and K through 12. So what is Tree City USA? It is an annual national recognition program designed to raise awareness of the value of community trees, set foundational standards for communities of all sizes, as well as celebrate community improvement. And why be a tree city? For me, one of the top reasons is that it provides a framework that county government can plug into to build and sustain a viable tree management program. So it provides this really beautiful roadmap that by meeting these standards, you can then build a wonderful tree management program for your community. And these 4 points, management, policy, investment, and celebration, are what the framework is built around. To become a tree city and to qualify, you have to meet 4 standards that have been established by the Arbor Day Foundation, as well as the National Association of State Foresters. And communities have to meet all 4 standards through activities that they complete between January 1st and December 31st of every calendar year. So it is an annual program, so you need to apply every year. And I also want to point out, I mentioned it before, it's a national program, so there are literally thousands of cities around the country who are participating in this. It can be, you know, cities, counties, even smaller incorporated towns. Okay, so these are the 4 standards. This is that framework, this is that roadmap. I'll just go over it pretty briefly here, and then we'll dive into it a little bit more later. But the first standard is a tree board or department. This is a community tree board, department, or position with legal authority and responsibility for public tree care decisions. The second one is a public tree care ordinance. So a law or ordinance, something with teeth, legal teeth. And then the third is to spend at least $2 per capita on urban forestry. So that could be tree planting, care, or maintenance. And that's just that investment in your community forest. Number 4 is an Arbor Day observance. This can look different around, you know, different counties can choose what looks good for them, whether it's a tree giveaway, a celebration, a festival, can be a work day. So different ways to celebrate, but just rallying the community around Arbor Day. And then a signed Arbor Day proclamation is also required from the mayor or the county council. The application process is pretty straightforward. So it's all online, but basically you're just showing that you're meeting the 4 standards. There's questions that you provide answers to, and then you can upload supporting documents. The timeline, the application opens in September of the calendar year, and then you have until December to submit it. Then the following spring, it gets reviewed by myself as the state coordinator for the program. And then the Arbor Day Foundation also reviews it. By May, the announcements are made. So that's why this past May, it was announced that Hawaii County received Tree City USA recognition for 2025. So it's 2026, but you got your recognition for 2025. And just a little bit about what Tree City looks like here in Hawaii. So it's designed for incorporated communities, such as cities and counties, or other communities, planned communities, military bases that are census designated places. But all of these have a governing structure. So homeowners associations, community associations they're not eligible for Tree City USA. So I just figured this out for myself. So just sharing that it's designed for incorporated communities, and in Hawaii, counties are a great fit. So we have actually the County of Maui that joined the first year this program was offered back in 1976, and they've continued on every single year since then. City and County of Honolulu joined in 1980. And then County of Hawaii was recognized in 2005 to 2007, and then just came back on board in 2005. So really celebrating that, really excited about that. And yeah, great work. We also have 6 military communities on Oahu that are part of the program. I also want to give a huge mahalo to Charla Thompson, one of your fellow committee members, who is just such a dedicated volunteer and really spearheaded this effort, led this effort on behalf of Hawaii County to submit the application and apply for 2025. I know she'd also like to acknowledge the support and encouragement of the Action Committee members, the Planning Department staff, Kaulunani, the Outdoor Circle, City Council or County Council members, and the mayor. But it really all came back to Charla, and thank you so much for all of your hard work. Thank you for not giving up and continuing on. And I'm so glad that we were able to support you in that.
Happy to do it.
Okay, so now we'll dive back into the Tree City standards. But I want to highlight how Hawaii County met the standards for 2025 with the idea that it can inform how we can continue to have the county participate in the program moving forward in future years, as well as how the county can grow your tree management program. So some opportunities for growth in meeting these standards as well. Okay, so the first one, the tree board or department, this was met through the Mayor's Arborist Advisory Committee, or the AAC. And this is part of the exceptional tree ordinance, the county's exceptional tree ordinance. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on the exceptional tree ordinance. Jill Wagner, who is speaking after me, is actually the chair of the Hawaii County AAC. So I will defer to her, but just want to say that the AAC is how Hawaii County is meeting the standard. And it's also how the other two counties in Hawaii, the Honolulu and Maui counties, are meeting the standard as well. So it's, fairly similar across that. I do want to point out, though, that while only one entity is required to be established for the care of public trees for the standard, often there's both a professional staff and a community tree board that are established that can work in tandem. And they really complement each other. For example, in Honolulu, there is a division of urban forestry under the Department of Parks and Recreation, and their staff work with the AAC. They also are the ones who are submitting the Tree City application annually. In Maui County, there's a county arborist position under the Department of Public Works, who once again works with the AAC and submits the Tree City application annually. So just, providing examples of what other counties have done and what works. The second standard is the Public Tree Care Ordinance. And Hawaii County is meeting that standard through your Exceptional Tree Ordinance, which is an extension of the Exceptional Tree Law, which is a statewide law, but then it's carried out by ordinances in each of the individual counties. So that's how you're meeting it. The Exceptional Tree Program is very narrow. It's not very broad, but we'll go into a little bit more of that later. But just that's what's currently happening. In Honolulu County, they're also using the Exceptional Tree Ordinance as their what's meeting standard 2. In Maui County, they do have a broader ordinance that covers more public trees in general. So yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Number 3 is spending at least $2 per capita on urban forestry. Hawaii County used the Department of Parks and Recreation budget to meet this standard. I know Charla and folks in the planning department had to reach out to Department of Parks to get that, get those numbers, but we did get them and we were able to put them into the application. These are expenditures on things like tree removal, tree maintenance, tree planting. So thank you folks for working with them on that. And then the last standard, the Arbor Day observance for 2025, Oscar, a county office, was doing plant giveaways, and they were able to tie in like Arbor Day messaging along with those plant giveaways. And it was around that time of year, so it worked out nicely. That was a good alignment, I would say. And then the mayor did sign an Arbor Day proclamation in 2025, but the county council can also. For other counties, I know Maui County has both the mayor and the county council do a proclamation, and they have an annual big celebration at Maui Nui Botanical Gardens with a tree giveaway. They have booths, communities invited to come and learn and take a tree home. For Honolulu, the mayor has an annual Arbor Day celebration with a tree planting in a park, and then they read out the proclamation. They invite a local school to come and help with the tree planting. So just some examples of what other communities are doing. All right, so now comes the fun part where we get to talk about opportunities for growth and for the future. So I put some more near-term opportunities in the green, and then some longer-term opportunities in the red. And these are just some things that I'm seeing, but there's certainly more things that we could discuss and talk about. So just starting points. But the first one would be designating a role for applying for Tree City recognition annually. So who's going to complete the application? Who's going to compile all the information? I think that would be a great start because we have such great momentum from 2025. You know, we want to keep that going into future years. And huge mahalo to Charla. And if she's willing and able to continue, that's wonderful. But just I think having a conversation about how we can, just continue this momentum would be a great starting point. Like I said, in the other counties, it is coming from professional staff. So just making sure there's that capacity moving forward. For updating ordinances, this is where I was going to get into a little bit more of the exceptional tree law. So exceptional tree law at the state legislature, it's now 50 years old, so it's time to be updated. The outdoor circle, it has taken on that championing role to update the law. They worked on it through this past legislative session, but it didn't make it all the way through. So they made good progress, but it didn't pass. So they're going to try again next session. So that's an opportunity for community to get involved. They can, reach out to the outdoor circle, stay connected with them, see how that can be moved forward, because it does then directly affect the ordinances that the counties would be carrying out. Another thing that was voted is expanding the role of the Arborist Advisory Committee. Right now, they are limited to advising on the exceptional tree program. So this is where folks can nominate trees to become an exceptional tree, and then those trees receive protections and management. But knowing that there's so much expertise on that committee, just knowing that they can provide more than just advice on exceptional trees, they can advise in other ways on tree care and management. So was talk of that, which I think is a wonderful idea. And then last but not least, support from the mayor and county council. I think there's a huge opportunity here to educate and inform the mayor and county council on the importance of participating in Tree City USA, the importance of having a viable tree management program in your county, as well as just generally the value of trees, like I talked about at the beginning of my presentation. So that's something to consider. For the longer term opportunities, could look at creating new ordinances, ones that are broader than the exceptional tree program. We could use the Maui County example. The Arbor Day Foundation also just came out with a new tool to help communities create tree care ordinances. So it's an online tool. I'll share the link in a little bit, but something to explore there. There's also the county arborist position. So from what I understand, there's a position in the Department of Parks and Recreation that's currently vacant. So this could be an opportunity to look at how that position could be filled, or maybe it needs to be just adjusted. I'm not sure, but just something to look into. Once again, to provide that complement to the Arborist Advisory Committee, where there's a staff position within county government who is overseeing the care of public trees. And last but not least, the Tree City Growth Award. So once you become a recognized Tree City, you are eligible for growth awards. And that's to show that you're not just meeting the 4 standards, but you're continuing to grow your tree care program. So you can show that you've received additional grant funding, that you're engaging with communities, providing more volunteer days, tree plantings, tree care. There's lots of ways to meet that requirement for the growth award, but just putting it out there. And then these are the resources that I was referring to. So the Arbor Day Foundation Tree City website is a great place to start. It lists all the standards and exactly what you need to meet them. So definitely check that out. And then the Arbor Day Foundation Tree Care Ordinance Assistant, that's the tool I was referring to for updating or creating new ordinances. You can also check out the Kolunani Tree City website. If you're interested, especially in learning about the other Tree City programs, so Tree Campus K through 12 and Tree Campus higher education. If you know of schools that want to participate, definitely send them my way. I'd love to help schools on Hawaii Island participate in that program as well. And with that, thank you. Mahalo nui. Thanks for listening. This is my contact information, just general information about getting in touch with Ko'unani. I do want to emphasize that we're here to support. So like all those ideas that I had, we're here to support you in completing those or working towards those. So please reach out to us, you know, if you are interested in advancing this program or things aligned with community trees. We're here for you. And I don't know if we have time for questions, but I'm happy to answer.
Right on. Thank you, Leah. Thank you so much for bringing this presentation to us today. Are there any questions from committee members? Shane, do you have a question?
Thanks, Leo. That's awesome. I was wondering what kind of process does Tree City have to ensure that invasive species are not introduced in communities? Like some trees might be beneficial for certain communities, but invasive in other communities. I was wondering if there was a mechanism in place for that process.
Yeah,
Of
that's
identifying which one was what would be, yeah.
no, that's a great question, and it's something that we at Ko'unani think about all the time too. Tree City doesn't have like an exact way of addressing that, other than I would say the ordinances, or the expenditures standards. So if like you're showing that your you know, your ordinances maybe have language in them that are supporting native species over non-native invasive ones, or if your expenditures are showing that you are removing invasives and planting natives, something like that. Yeah, so I do like that it's, you know, you can tailor it to whatever your community's needs and values are. It is pretty open-ended in that sense, but yeah, the framework is like just this great way that you can plug into and then make it your own.
Awesome. Thanks. Thank you.
Answers it.
Yeah. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Shane. I'm pretty surprised to hear that we do have a county arborist position in the planning department. But like there's one there that's not filled. Or what was Leah, what did you say about that?
In the parks department is what is my understanding. And we had talked about this a while ago, so if things have changed, my apologies.
Yeah, don't know.
I have no history of it.
Okay, it could be something we do research in. I mean, if the position's created and not filled, that's a lot better than not having it created. Yeah, and then we could do something like write a letter to Mayor Alameda, asking that they fill that position. That'd be great. So maybe something we can do more research in. Any other questions for Leah?
I got questions on Zoom.
Oh, sure.
So, I got some players asking, what does incorporated communities mean? In layman's terms, please.
I can just tell you what it says from the Arbor Day Foundation. I'm not a legal expert, so I don't know. But basically that means a community that has a governing body, like a governing structure, such as the county, because they really do want that standard too, the legal ordinance. They want it to be at that level of a law ordinance, or for those census designated communities, the military bases, they still have a governing structure that has legal policies that they can enforce. So I hope that helps. It's a community that has a governing body that's able to uphold ordinances or laws or policies.
Yeah, and enforce. Yeah.
And then the second question is, would the trees be food-bearing type trees or just ornamental? Who chooses the trees?
Yes, so that's something for the county to lay out in their plans, right? So whether that's through ordinances or through the expenditures. But the tree care board and the professional staff, that's something for them to like plan out and lay out and have foresight for. So it would be up to them to kind of guide that.
Right on. And
With, of
Charlie, do you
course,
have a question?
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. First, I just wanted to congratulate Charla on what seems to be umpteen years of her diligence in keeping this up. I have to admit, when she first introduced it, I knew nothing about it. And as of today, I know a lot more about it. And therefore, because of that knowledge, I guess I'm a lot more supportive. I just wanted to pass on and maybe get some advice. We have a memorandum of understanding with the Parks and Recreation here, and we co-manage Hokena Beach Park. And pruning the trees, the park generally contracts that out, so the care of the trees are generally there, generally done by the contractor. Our MOU doesn't allow us to do any major tree trimming and or cleaning. I was wondering if there's a mechanism that the Parks and Rec, and maybe you're not the right one to answer that. I might have to ask Clayton, where they raise that $2, per capita, or is it coming out of the general fund budget? Because the Parks and Rec have to, like, sometimes compete for fundings within the general fund as opposed to have something dedicated to a line item. And I was just wondering if you had any experience in that. Whether the counties themselves can raise the money directly through Parks and Rec. And maybe you don't have an answer for that. I'll have to ask Clayton, but I just wondering if you had any experience in that.
yeah, unfortunately, I don't know the specifics to that level, but I think that's a great question. So I hope that you can find an answer and explore that further. But yes, I totally recognize, that budgets are limited. And
Yeah.
so you have to kind of work with what you can. And that $2 is a minimum, right? So that's like what they're asking for the minimum. But realistically, it could be a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But that's something, once again, that professional level staff can oversee. Like, for example, on Maui County, I know the county arborist is the one who is contracting out the tree care for street trees and park trees and things like that. So that position is able to, manage the budget request for budget to cover that. And then also in executing those types of RFPs, understanding what to ask for and what to look for from contractors in terms of high quality tree care, because there is quite a variety in what contractors are able to provide, whether they're certified arborists, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, there's a lot that can be done.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that the arborist, the vacant position now, if it's filled, would address some of that expertise that we would need, at our level.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's great. We have a pathway for it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Janice, you have something you want to add?
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. That was an interesting thing you said about the park down there. So I'm wondering, oh, sorry, I'm getting feedback here. I was just wondering, you said that the volunteers can't do any of the maintenance work there, is that right? You have to
Minimum,
contract it out?
not any minimum.
Yeah, there's liabilities
Yeah.
involved. Yeah, and so our MOU doesn't cover that. We don't take that liability, so they contract out the pruning and the care of the trees. And these are primarily the coconut trees that are the largest risk there.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, coconut trees are a different thing. I was just wondering what the limitation. I mean, I see butchering of trees all the time. It's horrible. And you don't want people who don't know what they're doing cutting trees. My husband always uses the word topping a tree and always say, don't say that word anyway. But But it is also good if there's some places where the community can, you know, help and be involved, whether it's be cleanup, hauling away of green waste. And I guess the whole liability thing, you know, makes that touchy. But thanks for a great discussion. It's really exciting, especially as trees are getting completely cut down here. So by the day.
Yeah, one thing we're very careful of too, Janice, is that, you know, we have, there's people who visit the beach and people who camp and they stay overnight. And safety is one of the biggest things. And the trees do present sometimes a safety hazard as well as sanitation. You know, with regards to like coqui frogs, mongoose, feral cats. So keeping the vegetation back is actually important for us to as well, just for hygiene you know, purposes down at the beach. So the tree trimming is only a portion of the, you know, the sort of like the yard maintenance we've got to do down there. And some of it we can do and some of it we can't.
I think of people being more dangerous to trees than trees being dangerous to people, but anyway, I mean, you know, you brought up some interesting points there too. I always wonder why the beach trees are just so decimated, like at Kona, the beach park and Alma, it's crazy. I mean, you know, and I always wonder why. Sometimes it's the county doing it and sometimes it's people using it for wood. I see more children breaking tree limbs than anybody doing maintenance actually, and you know, and hammocks and things like that. So we're definitely a ways away from, you know, managing our parks in a way that, you know, protects our trees and the people. But it's nice to just having this discussion and, you know, being able to spread out from here and raising our awareness is fantastic. I think it's because it didn't used to be such a big thing because there weren't so many people, but now that there's just so much impact, it just becomes more and more important. So thanks. Great comments by everybody.
Thank you, Janice.
And I just
Charlotte?
think, yeah, I just wanted to say a big mahalo nui loa to you, Leah, and to Jill as well, and to everybody here on the action committee. I mean, the list is actually quite long of how we got here, but this is just the beginning and there's so much to accomplish. And I'm very excited about the tasks ahead and the difference that we can make to our Hawaii island. The impacts that are gonna be felt for years and years, generations to come, starts right now. It's like I heard on the radio today, you know, somebody was talking and they said, yeah, it's just like saying when the best time to plant a tree is, it was 20 years ago, right? So we should start now and make things really wonderful. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Charlotte, and thank you, Leah, for all the work, and planning staff, and Nancy, everyone working on all of this.
Yeah, thank everybody.
Okay, should move on to is there any other discussion on this? I think there's some potential for future action, but maybe we should do some research, especially I'm really interested in finding out more about that arborist position, the Parks Department.
Yeah, right.
Okay, we will move on to agenda item 2, urban forestry presentation. Presentation by Jill Wagner, forester and tree advocate, regarding urban forestry and tree stewardship efforts in cities around the world, including strategies for improving county tree maintenance practices, appropriate species selection, and long-term urban forestry management to support climate resilience and watershed health. Discussion and potential action to follow.
Yeah.
So anyone that wishes to testify on this agenda item?
Chair?
Yes.
This is Charlie. Sorry, I was on mute. I don't know if this would be the right time, but I wanted to suggest maybe the AC write a letter of support to fill the arborist position to the mayor.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I think we got to figure out, you know, what the situation with it is specifically. Like, is it
gotta do some research on.
Yeah, to figure out if they actually have an unfilled position or if they don't have one. I think there's still some questions surrounding that.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, Charlie. I think we should do that just once we have all the information. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. Didn't see anyone wishing to testify on this agenda item. So Jill, whenever you're ready. Thank you for being here today.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for allowing me to give a presentation. I'm so happy to be here with you. And I am going to share my screen, and I I do forest restoration in Hawaii and I help people all over the world, and I am a tree advocate. So my talk is a general talk. I want to give you a little overview of what's happening globally and also how I'm thinking about Hawaii and we can care for our trees in Hawaii. So I first want to give a mahalo and acknowledgement to the Outdoor Circle. And I remember, you know, when in the 90s when the Outdoor Circle was very active, and I learned about some of the early members in the 40s and people doing great work to beautify Kona. So I learned about them and watched them do good work. But the Outdoor Circle was founded in 1912, and its founder's goal was to beautify and to oppose billboards and to plant thousands of trees. And I saw what they did in Kona. And they also, in 1975, helped to create the Exceptional Tree Act. And they also helped to establish public fountains, parks, playgrounds, and gardens. So I want to just acknowledge partnerships and you know, sort of organizations, community organizations in Hawaii that help to care for the way our public spaces and nature is. And so I want to talk to you about the Greening Cities global movement. Obviously, I took a class with Oxford University on this subject and learned so much about this. This is a huge global movement. So a lot of cities in the world have a whole program for greening, and people are paying much more attention to trees in urban areas. And what I learned is that, here we go, Nigeria, I'm working with a guy in Nigeria. The poorest cities in the world have the least trees or none. So it's really shocking, and it has a huge impact on the quality of life for people. The most affluent cities in the world have the most trees. And here's a really great story. I saw a presentation on Medellin in Colombia. This city is doing wonderful things to address increasing heat. And they did a really good presentation on the way they're planting trees. They've created these green areas and really increasing the shade in their city. It's a game changer, and you're going to see why in a minute. So I was born in Arcadia, California, and this city was created by a guy named Lucky Baldwin. And Lucky Baldwin loved trees. He loved trees. He owned thousands of acres in California, and he loved trees so much that he fired anybody in his employ that cut trees down. He wouldn't allow any trees cut down. And that had a huge impact, because one of the things that he did is he started using gas lighting. This is in the late 1800s. It's very interesting. He also started the Santa Anita racetrack, which I was born next to, and the LA Arboretum next to that. So I then grew up in a city called Claremont, California. I stole this from the front page of their website. It's called the City of Trees and PhDs. This city has 6 private universities. So it has, you know, really nice college campuses, but also it is a beautiful city of trees. And they have beautiful flowering trees and a lot of shade trees, a lot of shade. And it makes this city so wonderful to be in, and it's lovely. And I was there for Mother's Day in May, so I took some pictures myself. And these are crepe myrtles, which I went to Baton Rouge and I was looking at their planting and their tree planting, and they use, of course, a lot of these beautiful flowering trees. Also in Claremont, they use the magnolias, and there's a lot of beautiful trees. So it was very inspiring, and it always is when I go back there. So here's my mother walking. We're going to the downtown, and you can see they're not worried. So one of the things they do is the maintenance of the trees is very carefully done. I want to point that out because this is one of the things that I want to discuss with you. It's the maintenance of trees. When you trim trees, it's very important to allow them to retain their natural growing habit. If you chop trees too heavily, then they will lose their ability to form nice branches, strong branches. So this is really, you can see this is a city of trees because they didn't even take this tree out. They just closed off the parking in the downtown, but the tree is got a very funny shape. Anyway, you've probably heard of this. This is a big topic and globally. It's called the shifting baseline syndrome. And a lot of what's happening is we're having more habitat loss, more intensive agriculture, and more warming. So all of these things are changing the way we relate to nature. And our current baseline is very different than what it was like in 1800 or in any time after that. And I had a big wake-up call in this lesson. I was just at a bee talk and our Senator Tim Richards and other experts, nature experts, were giving talks on the bee economy in Hawaii, and somebody showed this photo. And this is the Hawaii's first beekeeping family. And I was like, oh my goodness, look at the size of the tree behind this family. It is huge. So it really kind of helps me to understand what that shifting baseline is in Hawaii as well. So obviously trees provide a lot of cooling, and this is the big thing that I want to convey. And this is a global movement. As I said, people are having, there are a lot of conferences and a lot of cities in the world are sharing and teaching about what they're doing to improve the quality of life in their cities. And it's really very wonderful. And I went to the Department of Energy, and the big thing that I learned, which is amazing because I got more details on the numbers, but the temperature under trees is 25 degrees cooler than it is in direct sunlight. And so this is very, very important. It's now even more than that. So I also looked at Hawaii's climate change portal, and this only goes to 2020, but you can see that Hawaii is heating up like it is everywhere else in the world. And this is very, very important for us to keep in mind. This is real data. So the Tree City, thank you so much, Leah, for your presentation. It was wonderful. I really appreciate it. And your also just suggestions of how we can keep doing good for our county. I know that we've got now our designation, and this is a wonderful thing. And Charla, thank you for making that happen. This just came out, of course, in April, and this is the newest NASA display data on the heating and what's going on. So you can see in the US, the heating is getting really significant. And that's why these tree cities are very, very important. And we're here we're definitely above 1 degree. So we have to be very, very careful. And the best mitigation is planting trees. I have a climate advisor, Dr. Sasan Sachi from NASA. He is the top scientist in the world on carbon sequestration of trees. And he told me there is no machine, there is nothing better than planting a tree for cooling. So it is the way that we have to do it. So scientists are saying that it really, really cools our cities when we have trees there in these concrete artificial landscapes. But also I wanted talk about the science that's going on right now because it's so interesting, and it follows Suzanne Simard's work. She did a lot of work, University of British Columbia, on the intelligence of plants and forest ecology, and the web of mycorrhizae and how nature connects with each other and the benefits they give them. But also, there's now a lot of science on the intelligence of trees, and this is the biggest, really fascinating work. And a lot of the intelligence of trees is happening in their roots. It's happening in the crowns and in the roots. And so in my hometown, if they have tree root issues, they just build planters around them. They certainly don't cut roots, and they don't cut trees down. So this is an important matter to consider. So trees have the same chemicals and neurotransmitters as the human brain. And this just shocked me. I'm reading and learning about this more and reading papers. Trees have serotonin, dopamine, glutamate, and more, and they communicate through the mycorrhizal networks, which we now know. But they also have the ability to share their chemistry with other trees. So if a tree is cut, it will share with other trees in its vicinity, and not only of the same species, but also just close trees that are around it. And it's a really fascinating work. So trees release airborne aromatic chemicals to ward off insects and disease. When humans breathe in these, it lowers cortisol and boosts our immune system. So that helps with stress and our immune system. And there is another scientist who did a bunch of work. And I had a visit from at the Joseph Rock Arboretum, which I manage in Kona. And here are some Kamehameha Schools teachers that wanted to hug the Willy Willy trees. That was so cool. And I did another workshop, and some other colleagues wanted to be by the trees, and that is very good for your immune system. And this is real. This is the National Institutes of Health. This is not people just saying this. There's science behind it. I also want to talk about the way we care for trees in our county. I live near Manawalea Street in Kona. And in January, there was a massive cutting, as you can see, of these trees, these Kamani trees. And this is very, very painful for me. I'm sensitive about the trees because I know they're alive, and I know that this is very hard on them. But the other part that's very important to understand is that these trees cannot now have a natural form. What happens, they haven't grown back much, but I wanted you to see January 16th, I took these photos, and April 17th, they're still struggling. And one maybe not be able to make it, but this is not the best way to take care of trees, really. And I know that my colleagues on Oahu and on Maui have told me they are concerned about the level of professional care and maintenance of our trees. We've lost our shade, and people have come to me personally and said, we've got problems. We've lost our shade. Here's another one that just happened, June 1. This is Walua Trail. And thank you. I had to find out from Oscar, but this is Kamehameha Schools land, but this is a trail for the community. Guess what? This is very harsh. This is very harsh cutting of a tree. This is not the way that it should be done. And when you cut these limbs like this, they cannot grow back strong, and they're going to be much more prone to wind damage. So Tree Cities people deal with roots by building planters and by building up to support them. Here's an example on Oahu. And there are very wonderful ways that we can keep our shade, keep the beauty of these trees and not have to hack them. So, what can we do to support our county? I believe that it is up to us now, the people alive today. As Janice said, and as Charla said, these things take time, and it's really up to us to take care and to do what we can. And so, as a forester and as an expert on taxonomy and trees, this is what I love. This is my passion, and I want to support in any way that I can that we take care. So the next generation, I have so many children that come and learn with me, and I want those children also to have a good, healthy environment and good quality of life. So I think that we could, and I was so happy that Leah was talking about like a committee that could support our county, support Parks and Rec. And I had a meeting with the Parks and Recreation with Clayton Homa and his team and the Oscar, people from Oscar. And we had such a good meeting, and they were very open to collaborating. Mr. Homa told me directly that he's very much, he said, that's why I reached out to your exceptional tree committee, because they're open to collaboration. So I was very happy about that. And I think that we can help at advising on selection, species, and the size of trees at maturity for plantings. We can advise and share information about the maintenance of trees. We can help coordinate with Oscar about tree planting efforts with groups. And that's why I talked about the Outdoor Circle and other groups that really care and they want to participate and be of service to the county. So just building partnerships with caring organizations is very, very helpful and important, and I'm grateful for that. So here I grew 300 of these primavera trees for County of Oahu, and a number of years ago, and they were planted. And then I saw this on the internet, this beautiful primavera, and there are a lot of trees that are very, very good selections for beautifying urban areas, but they don't have to all be native. And I do native restoration. I'm a big native person, but I'm very thoughtful about what trees are actually going to serve properly for our communities and be a good candidates for this. And we've got some great ones. We've got Cuban mahoganies, are incredible hardwood trees, very high valued. They don't break. If you're going down Palani Road and in Kona, those big trees are Cuban mahoganies. But guess what? They've been big time hit. They have massive gashes in them. So the people who maintaining and mowing and all the stuff, it needs to get improved. So that's my big message. And I thank you so much for allowing me to share, and that's all I have. And hopefully we can have a discussion about it now or any other time.
Awesome. Thank you, Jill. Thank you so much for your presentation. Are there any questions from committee members to Jill?
I just have a couple, Steve.
Yeah, Nancy.
Thank you, Jill, very much for that's a great presentation. And I was over in Honolulu in the beginning of November, and I was in a condo, and I went out onto the lanai and looked down, and I was right in the middle of the city, like Kapiolani or someplace, and I looked down and I saw this big green strip, and it didn't occur to me what it was initially, and I realized I was looking at this enormous canopy of trees that were growing on each side of the road that were meeting in the middle, and you couldn't even see the pavement. It totally engulfed I think it was Kapiolani Boulevard, and it was like, what an incredible thing. I took a picture of it with my phone, but it was like an example of what you can do in an urban core with trees and making the environment, cooler, but also so pleasant for pedestrians. And in the Kona CDP, for the concept of like transient accommodation and not TOD development and higher density development within the urban core. The idea of multimodal incorporating green spaces and tree growth is definitely part of the big picture. You can't just cram a bunch of new development together without taking the need for trees and green space into account. And I really hope we can work more toward getting a tree plan for the county that includes all the things you mentioned, not only what trees we should plant, and that would probably even vary depending on what part of the island you're on, but also training people of how to properly maintain them, as you say. And so it's all wonderful, exciting conversation. And thank you very much.
Shane?
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, I have the same sentiments as Nancy does regarding the ability for the county to probably invest in how to care for our landscapes. And hopefully not just the tree community can come forward and advocate, but other parts of the community as well. I think that's important on how we take care of our spaces. I had a question regarding some of the data that was collected and used in the presentation. How much of the data was vetted, how much of it was vetted towards traditional ecological knowledge? Like, was it just from others? Was the data from other communities on the continent, or was it also inclusive with traditional ecological knowledge from Hawaii as well?
Are you asking about what's happening in Hawaii or what's?
No, I know what's happening in Hawaii.
Okay.
I'm super involved. I wanted to know the data that you provided. Was there any efforts in including traditional ecological knowledge in that data?
I don't know. I don't know about that. All I know is that the counties are really focused and take care, you know, of their, I don't know what mechanisms they use to do that or make those decisions.
Yeah, interesting. The outcomes were interesting. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Shane.
Yeah.
Jill, as we look towards making recommendations, you know, to improve this work and keep it at the front of our minds, do you think that if we were to recommend that the arborist committee take on some more of these duties that Leah brought up and you brought up, would the arborist committee be supportive of that? Is that something the arborist committee is like willing and able to do?
Well, I'm the chair of the arborist committee, so you asked the right person.
Yes.
I would definitely be interested in supporting that, because taxonomy is one of my specialties. So I really study trees from all over the world, and you know, we do grow. There are trees. I mean, I work closely with BISC, the Big Island Invasive Species Committee. And so we're very careful and thoughtful. Maybe 50 or 100 years ago, you know, we didn't have all of the information that we have now. And so we can keep getting better. And in the selection of the trees that we choose, and really think about all of these questions. What is the height at maturity? What is the size of the crown? What is, you know, what is the spacing that we have? And what do we want to achieve? But we need to really do that now, that and then the maintenance, because we've got to keep our shade going. So yes, I would definitely be very happy to incorporate that in that. That's one of my
follow-up.
Yeah, sure, Nancy.
Regarding the arborist commission or committee, I noticed the Maui Arborist Committee has their ordinance and their code. They have additional duties compared to the whole county of Hawaii. And as far as overseeing tree planting I mean, I think it would be really good for us to draft an ordinance. But you know, the Arborist Committee would have to be in support of taking on additional responsibilities, because their responsibilities are pretty slim right now. And this would be a big responsibility to amend the ordinance for their duties within the code to be similar to what they do in Maui, but I think it'd be fantastic if they would be, the members, including you, would be willing to do that. And I like writing legislation, so I'd be like to help work with you in terms of drafting a proposed, legislative package to go to the council to expand the responsibility to meet these goals, because I think we have to have that, in my
Right.
opinion.
Thank you so much. And you just reminded me of another thing, Nancy, is that Maui County also has a list of species that are acceptable. And it is big. It's a big list. And when we spoke to the Parks and Rec, James Kamata said, well, it's not applicable to Hawaii Island. And I agree with that. I think that if there was any kind of list, it has to be fluid. It's got to be dynamic, and also it can't be sort of set in stone, because we're always learning, And but I think that that's a possibility as well. I like to be very, very inclusive and have people, think that's a good idea, and if they want to do that. So. Anyway, did you have a comment, Janice? Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I was so glad you had the photos of the Walua Trail trees, as horrible as it was, because I think I called Nancy about it actually. But that's part of the Kona Open Space Network now. And as we, now that we have that structure sort of kind of in place, that's also another aspect of this, is that if we want to try to encourage people to use those spaces, we need to make them hospitable, and certainly a huge part of that is having shade. Otherwise there's no one there. And yeah, so thank you. I just appreciate your discussion, and the photos were really great too.
Thank you. And yeah, and I think, one of the things that I think that even Oscar could do is have like a workshop, and have arborists and give talks and teachings and make it available, because there are tree cutting companies, but this is, whoa, I mean, we gotta improve. It's a lot of room for improvement. So maybe there are ways that we can support that, because not all of this is the county. And so we have to generally up our game for Hawaii Island.
And also, Jill, what Shane was talking about, and when you were talking about it, educating, like I work with, clients that are landscaping every day, and there's a lot of misconceptions about trees. And like, I think what you brought out, and I think is really important for everybody to think about, is that they're very variable. Areas it's so site specific in many ways. And some people just have an aversion to one kind of tree, and that's it in their brain. And so when we are meeting with communities and our neighbors and stuff, it really helps to have some experts involved, at least, and to try to get, I don't know how we spread information on this anymore. We don't have the newspaper thing, but I do think that education is hugely important. And even, maybe having groups out on the trail, like Walua Road, I know there's probably people who are down there and they feel that they're helping, but on your own, you don't really know what to do. Picking up trash is great. But there's, all of a sudden you'll have herbicide sprayed there, and you didn't even know that it was sprayed. So if you were pulling weeds, you're in danger. There's just so many things about it that, maybe we could improve through an ordinance that you and Nancy were talking about, with with Public Works, Parks and Rec, not to make it too hard on anybody, but also to just try to up our game a bit, instead of waiting till trees get really sick, and then just saying we have to take them all out. So anyhow, thanks.
Yeah.
Art, you have a question?
Yeah, it's my understanding Queen Kaahumanu Highway, along there were some trees and some bougainvillea planted in the distant past. They've been neglected. A lot of them have passed away. I think that was done by Outdoor Circle many years ago. And I'm wondering, we could do a lot to improve the appearance of the entry into our community from the airport, just by planting trees along there. I know it's a state highway corridor, but is that, first of all, there's a water expense, and I think that's why the plants that were there died is they used to water them with a truck, but I think that stopped some years ago. Is that something that we could consider doing?
I think that would be amazing for sure. I know that because Hawaii is so important to the sports world and with Ironman and I've you know I've heard people, Europeans and people say, you know, where are the trees? And it's like it's yeah. So anyway, I think that's a great idea and would really soften. There are trees that can take it drier, and that's where we can be thoughtful about the selection of species. Yeah.
John?
Yeah, Shane?
To answer part of that question, I remember back in the nineties, the community preferred the open view of the ocean versus a tree shade, especially in the lava fields. Because the natural ability for the island to grow and to disintegrate, because our island is brand new, it's still making its own dirt. And so the lava is the first process, and we're living on new earth, and that's why it's barren. That's what new earth looks like. It's barren. It looks like Kona. That's new earth. And that's the reason why they never planted all those trees out there. Is to keep the open space going and allowing for the natural. This is the reason why I asked, well, how much of traditional ecological knowledge was included in the data that we're seeing? Because I get the science, I understand the science. But there's also traditional ecological knowledge of how people lived on these islands for thousands of years as well. And that's where I'm wondering if it's gonna be an inclusive process, then where's the TEK in this process? That's all I was asking.
Yeah, Nancy?
It seems like when we get the luxury of doing a tree management plan for the county is when we would have to include all the voices, you know, and all the perspectives.
That's why we supported GP 2045, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Janice, you have something quickly to add? Probably go on.
Yeah, I wanted to say, yeah, and well, I remember back, I don't know how many years, maybe 10 years ago, we had a well problem, maybe not that long. And, you know, I just remember getting in touch with the Parks and Rec and the mayor, and just asking, I mean, one of the first things to go is the water, on the trees, on the landscape, the county landscape. And I think that that's also a really misguided idea. The median in town, which I totally get what Shane is saying about the view planes and all that makes us unique. Downtown on the road fronting KTA and down there at Palani, you know, letting the trees die and the landscape die has really been a problem to me as far as, you know, once again, the welcome feeling, not just for tourists, but for local people, just to walk from KTA over to the post office should be a pleasant experience. But I always think, oh, I have to get in my car because it's so sunny. But anyway, I just think that just rethinking what Shane said, incorporate that into what we have, where we know it's more of an urban space that isn't, you know, view plane oriented as much, not that it isn't. And then also when they did redo the highway and put the, you know, the grasses in at the ends of the medians and the rock, and now it's just a weed strip. And that is also, I mean, I also got in touch with the state about it and the county about it. And for some reason, we just keep making the same mistakes over again. So I think having experts, you know, on the committee and just trying some new paradigms would be really great. And incorporating local voices is a must. So mahalo again.
I grew up in a traditional setting on how we would fell a tree to process it for a key on a heiau or a canoe for fishing. And both are very important in our life today still. But the process of felling a tree is so arduous that it took over 2 months just to fell a tree. And the reason for that is because we needed to provide sacrifices that would compensate all of the intelligences that was just mentioned earlier that the tree provides. And that particular equation is something that I studied for 25 years on the cultural setting, in halal setting, and through traditional ecological transmission of knowledge. And so that's why I'm wondering, like, I get that sometimes science feels like we just discovered it, but ecological knowledge that's been passed on for centuries have been practicing it already. And that's what I'm trying to see, like, how much can we bring together and be inclusive in that process? Right? We want to bring a nice balance. We're not in disagreement of the trees. We just want to make sure that we're bringing in the right balance.
Can I say something?
Yeah, quickly, we should probably get
Well,
across the agenda.
You know, last year it rained almost every day in Kona, in my area at least. So much that, you know, I've got a jungle in the back of my tiny yard now. And what it's done is it's attracted lots of fire ants. So our whole neighborhood is just full of fire ants. They love moisture and everything. Got mosquitoes galore. Kona hardly has mosquitoes because it's nice and hot and, you know, low trees and everything. Now my little yard is just full of mosquitoes and all of that. So, you know, I really, you know, and here's the other thing. We don't have really good sun anymore. Have you noticed? The skies are more blue-gray than blue. And sun is good for us. That's how we get our vitamin D. I mean, I actually make it a point to sit outside in the sun and get vitamin D as dark as I am. I don't care, you know, and all of that. And walking from KTA across to the post office is good to be exposed to the sun. What the heck is wrong with that? I mean, I did it. I've done it. I've caught the bus and they dump you in the sunshine. And yes, you have to walk, but it's good. It's good to perspire, by the way, because that you know that rids the body of toxins. You know, I mean, are we thinking? Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Josephine. Okay, any other questions from the committee
Very
members?
Terry, this is somebody on Zoom with a question.
Yeah, sure.
Question is from Claire. Would the trees have barriers when installed big enough to root firmly but not uplift asphalt roads or uproot the plumbing on developments nearby?
Urban development, yeah. Good.
Did you catch that, Jill? I think that's
Yes,
good.
yes, I did. And I think that that's the kind of thoughtful
Conversation.
planning that
Yeah.
needs to happen.
Agreed.
And so there are species that have, you know, the general way we can think about trees is that the root is equivalent to the crown. And so if we're going to put a big spreading tree, let's say like a monkey pod, maybe that's not going to be appropriate in an urban space, you know? And there are ways that you can look at all these factors and make better choices. And that's what I'm trying to suggest, is that like our committee, the tree advisory committee, and you know, working with experts who know these trees, and then we can make more, you know, informed decisions. Yes.
Any other questions?
No, but I wanted to say thank you. Thank you so much, Jill, for
Thank you.
coming. Your presentation was beautiful. And
Thank you.
yeah, very meaningful, and really looking forward to working with you in the future and seeing our arborists do much more than they're doing now.
Thank you very much, everyone, for giving me time.
Yeah, thanks to you and Leah. It's great to hear, and the discussion we've been having from everyone. It's great to hear some practical ways we can move forward. and improve our situation.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Anyone want to make a motion on this? I assume maybe we got ideas for motions down the line, but any action today?
Right now.
Yeah. Okay, if not, we'll move on. We're gonna go to agenda item number 3, Hawaii County Council Bill Draft 2, Bill 66 Draft 2 relating to the County of Hawaii General Plan 2045. The AC will discuss Bill 66 Draft 2, including updates from the first and second readings before the Hawaii County Council, and potential implications for the Kona CDP. The AC may consider and take action, including the submission of testimony to the County Council. Time is 1:31. Business item 3 is now called to order. Anyone that wishes to testify on Bill 66, we got Josephine's testimony earlier.
Maybe you can provide an update of where we're at.
Yeah. Okay, don't see any other testimony. Yeah, so Bill 66, since our last meeting, went through 2 readings at County Council and passed both those readings. It's with the mayor now, last I heard. But I don't, has that deadline passed yet for Nancy?
I don't think the 10 days are over yet.
Okay, so it's not over
He's
yet.
not signing it.
Yeah, he said he's not gonna sign it, which, you know, he doesn't have to sign it for it to become an ordinance, so I think
No.
he's not gonna veto it, he's not gonna sign it. We'll see what he actually does. But so that's where we're at with that. Is there anything you wanted to add about that, Nancy?
What I wanted to add was something that I sat through most of those meetings. I didn't sit through the last one, with hours of testimony, but I was thinking about this concept of trust in government, and I think a lot of the testimony that came in was a reflection of lack of trust in government in different ways. But on the other side of it, the so-called silent majority, I tried to get a lot of people talked into testifying in favor of Bill 66. But then there's the other side of lack of trust of government, because people just thought it was a waste of time. It's like, so what? You know, what's the plan gonna do for me? Why should I bother going down there and testifying? So that's another side of trust. And I think that's where a group like our group is important, where we can be an interface with local government and local planning and actually try to get some stuff accomplished so that people can see that you should trust participating with local government, because there are things that can be achieved. And so that I woke up this morning brushing my teeth, and that's what I was thinking about regarding. So there was very clear with the testimony, there was angry lack of trust. But on the other hand, people sitting back and not wanting to bother is another problem of lack of trust. That's all.
Thank you, Nancy. Yeah, thanks for all your work on this and bringing it to our committee. So I don't, do we ever get an answer on the interim amendments? Like after this passes, we can provide interim amendments to the general plan, or the county council can.
The county council can.
Yeah. So I think maybe that's something for the future for this committee.
Discussion.
Yeah, is to figure out if there are places where we can.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
What is that process, and how easy are these amendments going to be implemented or at least, you know, pushed forward into view? I mean, what's the process?
I mean, I believe it's similar to any kind of amendment
Any
ordinance, right?
policy ordinance.
Okay, same thing.
Same thing, but I think coming from a CDP or some sort of, you know, like even like the arborist organized board or some sort of commission, I think that gives a certain level of credence or authenticity to that. And so I think it's good that we have our discussions here from the planning perspective, and others will chime in as well, you know. The process is not shorter. It's not easier or shorter than the normal. It's the same. Yeah, it's the same.
It's kind of a shame because there are so many things that are out
Already.
already.
Yeah.
that maybe, could anything be done to kind of push some of these things through any faster? Is there anything that can be done to kind of help implement some of these very important changes that need to come about?
I think when we,
People would be much more comfortable, I think, knowing that that could happen with this plan.
that is part of democracy, though, that process of amendment is what we were born into. And so I think the frustration is, again, like what Nancy said, is a lot of people are frustrated and the mistrust on government and not the content itself, it's. Yeah, there's a lot of outdated stuff in all the ordinances, including state HRSs, including federal laws. It's archaic. And other countries don't suffer these things. They get to amend theirs a little bit more easier than American government does.
That's true.
Yeah,
It's true. It's not always so positive.
not always, yeah. But that's why we job security.
In our case, if this group, something came to this committee and we felt we wanted to push an amendment to the plan forward when we wanted to vote on it, it'd still have to be, a council member would have to introduce the amendment on our behalf.
Yeah,
Sure.
always, yeah,
Okay.
that's
So that
why,
it would go through that whole process.
that's why I'm thinking like through the CDP, we could elevate it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Is what I was trying to explain to her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Janice, you wanna add something?
Thanks. I was just thinking about outreach, CDP, Action Committee outreach. We've only talked about it about 1,000 times, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think that somehow, someday we're gonna, we do incrementally, like, I think this discussion about trees was a really good example of reaching out and getting some new information from different people. And I think that that's fantastic. And now, getting more of that for different topics. And I think with the general plan, it's so broad, it's so big, and maybe once the dust settles, just focusing on a few things. I mean, there, like Shane just said very wisely, is that, it's democracy, and it's got its pros and cons, but just being able to be involved is really important. And not that we always get what we want, but compromise. And so if we can, come up with some points that really seem necessary for changing that plan, and everybody can agree at the committee, bringing in new voices to talk about that and learn about that would be really great. I don't know how exactly.
Agree, yeah.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Thanks, Janice. Any other discussion? 66. No? Yeah, thanks to everyone we've been talking about this for years. So really appreciate everyone taking the time to work towards making this plan something we can all live with. All right, let's move on to item number 4. Hawaii County Council Bill 147 relating to transient accommodations. The AC will discuss Bill 147, including potential implications for the Kona CDP, potential action to follow. Time is 1:39. This item now called to order. I'll give an update after I see if anyone wishes to testify on this agenda item. Seeing none. Okay, so Bill 147 hasn't done much since we last met. Windward, our testimony got submitted to both Windward and Leeward. I didn't realize that when we submitted it, but it's awesome. So Windward got our testimony and they met and discussed this bill last week. They ended up deferring the bill, so they didn't take any action on it. I didn't watch their meeting, but I saw some article in West Hawaii Today talking about their meeting, and it seemed like the focus was there was a lot of testimony on it related to the transient accommodations on agricultural land, which is not really the focus of our testimony, but that seemed to be where a lot of the discussion was. I know they're going to try to work on amendments, but they wanted another meeting to introduce those. Our testimony got some buzz in the newspapers, which was awesome. One of the reporters reported on it, and I think it's generated a lot of discussion surrounding the issues we brought up with 147. So thank you all for listening to what I presented and voting on it. It's great. So Leeward Planning Commission, they didn't have quorum for their last meeting where they would have probably discussed this. And then they're having 2 meetings this month. One is going to be about, I think, normal business that they have. And then at the end of the month on the 30th, I believe, they're going to talk about 147.
But we don't know if it's not, we don't know if it's on their agenda yet.
Yeah, I can't find their official agenda. The Big Island Thieves Facebook page said they were going to be talking about it, but I don't. I didn't see. Last I checked, I didn't see the official agenda. So hopefully they will talk about it, and I think our testimony should be like the Winter one attached to the report they get, so they'll have it. If it's on the 30th, it's the day I get off work, night shift, but I'm going to try to be present for that. We'll see how it works out, but I want to make sure that our points are brought up and discussed. So that's kind of where we're at. Did anyone have any other things they'd like to discuss about Bill 147 today?
No.
Cool. Okay. I think for now we see what happens at the meeting.
Well, I have
Yeah.
a question, and it just has to do with policing all of this. You know, if it ends up that hosted vacation rentals are still not conforming to their neighborhood's character, is there anything that can be, you know, done about that? It's not just, does everyone have their permits, does everyone pay? It goes beyond that, you know, of course.
The social responsibility.
Social responsibility. I know that San Diego went through a really big shift because they were having the same issues as far as housing goes. Everything was vacation rental that they, so they kind of clamped down. It was on the policing aspect of it. And basically they had a 3 strikes and you're out. You know, people were really abusing the character of their neighborhood. And there were things that you could actually do about it.
I'd support that.
Yeah, well, and I do too, because I've had a vacation rental next door and at one point it was hosted. He just lived in the Ohana and he rented out the big house upstairs with the swimming pool, and it was really no better than when he decided to just rent out the whole place, you know, and ended up having some, you know, more than who were supposed to be there count wise. And it was a horrible situation. But we do have a vacation rental at the bottom of the street, and they do conform to the character of our neighborhood. I have no problem with that. You know, they're not driving, they don't let the teenagers drive the rental car and speed down our street anymore. You know?
Yeah.
And almost run you over when you're walking your dog, things like that. So, yeah.
Some homeowners associations don't allow them. So.
That's right.
So that's one way to be handled. If you
And then-
get
there is.
a majority of folks that own the property say, we don't want this here.
Right.
I live in a traditional fishing village and it's been inundated by STVRs, and the culture definitely changed. It's not the same, and to restore that culture, it'll never happen because the value of the land cannot be afforded by the people of this place anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah,
More than a shame.
Yeah,
Shame, it's not as
for
fun.
sure.
It's a crime.
We should be learning from San Diego.
Yeah. Well, Greenland won't allow you to even buy their land.
We try, right? We try, Joseph. We try.
Working on that.
We gotta work on the democracy part, yeah.
We'll go to Charlie first and then you, Janice, but Charlie.
Oh,
Go ahead.
yeah, well, yeah, thanks. You know, I think what we're trying to do here, or the county is trying to do here, is not make matters worse than they already have become by some of these rules. And I think one of the things originally was obviously enforcement. Because there were rules put out about bed and breakfasts and STRs before, but these were just not monitored. And they kind of got caught, most of them, certainly in my case, in Volcano, is by, the citizenry coming forward and saying, hey, I think there's something here that's not right. And then the county, took some action on it. But I'm kind of worried about the enforcement piece. First being funded, is it adequately funded? And it kind of talks about that in the beginning of how it's going to get funded, administration rules. But, you know, I, I wouldn't want it to be funded by the, alone by the, the penalties, because then you got to catch them first.
Right.
In terms of monitoring, in terms of sort of as part of the enforcement, whether the county has come up with a plan as to how exactly are they going to monitor the online, uh, um, because that's where you catch most of the people. They're advertising online. Whether they're going to line up the online reservations with the permitting piece, and how they do that. And it calls it out that the online they're going to get checked, but they're not really specific on how that's done. And so I'm not really, I'm, as Shane said, we're not going to replace what's already happened. We just don't want it to get worse. And so I think the weak link was enforcement to begin with. Because there's not going to be a reduction in pressure. If anything,
No.
it's going to increase.
Increase.
And sometimes that's the focus of what we're trying to do, is make more development. But so I think that's just a question I have. I don't have a sort of like a solution to it, but I know in other counties they place a lot more vigilance on monitoring the online and advertising with the actual approved, uh, with the actually those who have actually been certified to do the STVR and the bed and breakfast. So it's just a comment, and I'm just wondering if we're going to have it up in discussion. Thanks.
Nancy?
Responding just specifically to what you're talking about, when I was working on doing their original research for Bill 108 in 2017 or so, I was looking at other jurisdictions, and if you didn't have the registration number given by the city or the county, you couldn't post. And even the posting company like Airbnb or whatever, they would get fined tremendously if they allowed any individual renter to post anything on the website that didn't have the official registration number. And it's not that difficult of a thing to pull off, but I don't think this county's ever particularly gotten into that. So I think it could be done without a lot of problems, but it has to be pursued.
Yeah.
Janice?
Thank you again. Well, interesting discussion after all the years and years of this. It's still always great to learn something new. Nancy, I mean, that would just seem like something the action committee could add to their comment, to push for that, kind of addition to the legislation. I know it's probably not simple, but and then also, Charla, yeah, thanks. I was curious if that was the owner that lived, because I've always just tried to come up with something easy, a compromise where, we could just get out of the thicket that we get in every time we're making these bills. And, but I'm sure sometimes the owners aren't really that responsible. And if it was an owner that rented out the big house, that's a bummer. Generally, the people I've talked to have said that if it was the owner that was hosting it, there was less problems, but obviously that's not always true. And then I was thinking about, what Shane said too, and I mean, oh, well, back to Charlotte, and also, I mean, I think it's fine if somebody seems to fit in with the character of the neighborhood, but that isn't really the big problem. Besides annoyance is the cost of housing and the availability of local housing, and
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so so when Shane was talking about that down there where he lives, and I just thought, well, I mean, yes, a lot of the families that are gone will always be gone, and that is a tragedy. And at the same time, I don't think we should give up trying to limit this practice because everybody everywhere is seeing
Yeah.
same problems. And I just think that when I see a bill that doesn't like really obviously rein in the amount, I just think, what are we doing and who is putting that forward? And so I just want us to stand strong, and us meaning
Yeah.
community, on just realizing that the big issue is local resident housing.
yeah,
Thanks.
agree. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Janice. RJ?
Real quick, couple things. Enforcement. The county has a real problem with enforcement across a whole bunch of different areas. I've appraised several completely unpermitted homes in the last year where the Department of Public Works says, well, we don't enforce that. Somebody should. And as for vacation rentals, I want you to think about something. If somebody has a vacation rental, usually the motivation for acquiring that vacation rental is because you don't live here.
Yeah,
You're gonna occupy that unit for a couple weeks a year, and you're gonna rent it out for vacation rental the rest of the year. So really what you're doing is you're allowing people who don't live here to suck a whole bunch of money out of our community without doing anything, actually with harming local housing
I
prices
agree.
and rents.
yeah. Mhm.
That's my end to say.
Thank you, RJ.
Yeah,
So I hope people come and testify when this bill
yes,
hits the Leeward Planning Commission, and especially when it hits the County Council Planning Committee. I hope people come out and express these feelings.
yes.
Yeah, the housing situation, the cost of housing was definitely the focus of our testimony that we submitted in. Sure.
I like that.
Janice?
Yeah, and one other thing, it's a vicious cycle too. What RJ was just saying is that too, a lot of people want to rent something out in their houses because they can't afford to live here. Some of them do live here. I mean, a lot of people came out and spoke about the bill over the years has been people that are renting a room and they feel like they can't afford it, they can't afford their home otherwise. So there's that angle too. That's sort of why I thought about the compromise of someone, the owner living there. But yeah, it's a tough, it's
Well, there again, long term.
yeah. And so yeah, long term is definitely one of the answers. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, I think there's, at least to me, there's a broader thing to look into, which is, RJ brought up our last meeting that doesn't seem like the profit's a lot higher with vacation renting.
Actually, whenever I've done the numbers, when you figure out all the costs, including, a replacement reserve for your furnishings, your higher utilities, the vacancy rate, your higher management fees, there's not a whole lot of incentive to do short term as opposed to long term. The incentive is that you get to choose when you can use that unit.
Yeah.
Well, then I've got one more thing to add
Yeah.
then. If we're going to basically persuade people with their vacation rentals to do things long-term, then they need to have some assurances that if they get a bad renter in there, they can get that bad renter out. Right now, the law favors the renter and they may not vacate for months. And there really are no assurances to the people that are renting long-term that that somebody has their back.
Yeah, that's where I was.
Might need to change as well.
Exactly where I was heading is, what are the disincentives? I mean, there's a situation where, yeah, for the unhosted especially, they want to be here for a couple weeks out of the year and then rent it out the rest of the time, which is hard to do with a long-term renter. But, in the situation where you're renting out a room or, what is the disincentives to long-term renting, right? Trying to investigate that more and figure out how we can encourage that as, a better option than vacation renting. Nancy?
When we were trying to get Bill 108 passed originally, and I was going around making my sales pitch on trying to get support. I heard that from so many people, and it never occurred to me, they didn't want to make the commitment to leasing property because they didn't want to be in a situation where they couldn't throw somebody out. And that's a double-edged sword. I mean, the people, that so many people express that feeling is, I don't want to be committed to renting a place and not being able to get rid of the tenant. And I kind of, I mean, on one hand, I can understand that, but it's the same time, it sort of offends me, I have to admit, that people, so many people express that, you know, it's, we have to find a way to encourage the concept of long-term rentals, which is, I think, what you were alluding to.
Yeah. Just me?
So I just had a friend, South Kona. They went and rented out a little unit outside of their house to, no, I mean, in the carport to somebody, and after about a couple months of paying, he stopped paying. And he's just stayed in his apartment. They couldn't get him out for months. And they tried, you know, police came and everything, and finally they did try the court route. And finally did manage to get him out, but
It
it was
takes months.
there for months.
And in the meantime, they
The money-
trash the place, there's nothing they can do.
Yeah, no, and they didn't earn anything from that, and they needed that money to help pay for the mortgage on the bigger house. So.
Janice?
Yeah.
So weird.
Yeah, I think that is, I mean, Nancy, I totally feel your sentiment there, but at the same time, I just hear about people renting their houses and having a lot of problems. And I think the enforcement and the help, like someone having your back is really just, it's not there. And just think of the cost of going to court, and you usually don't get money out of the people anyway. I mean, I haven't had the experience, knock wood, I don't rent anything out, but I have really empathized with the people who have tried to do a good thing, and, you know, they went to one person and then more people move in and blah, blah, blah. So I think that, you know, the county needs to also be responsible if we're going to change the paradigm and get support for it.
Nancy?
We could talk about this all day, but I just have to add one thing. When I was on Oahu a few months ago, they have very, like, in the, well, I think I mentioned this before, in the whole, like the Waikiki and all the way up the mountain, you know, and Makiki and all of those neighborhoods and the highest density of Honolulu, there very few are allowed to be vacation rentals. I mean, most of them are long-term rentals or owner occupied. And, you know, I think it's easy for people to get into this mindset of, oh, I don't want to rent my house through a lease because it's too hard to get rid of people. I mean, there's cities all over the world that thrive on people living in units as long-term rentals. And I think we have to encourage that and find solutions for people, but not let people get obsessed with this idea that they're repulsed by the idea of being committed to a long-term rental. It's a very unhealthy social attitude as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. I've been long-term renting for 10 years. So, and I feel like my landlords are happy. And, you know, just working so much with, like, you know, Kalaka'i High School and how many teachers need long-term rentals. And, you know, it's so important for our workforce and our community to have this option. So yeah, figuring out how to encourage that over vacation renting is, I think, a good long-term goal. Charlie, you mentioned things about the enforcement. Charlotte did also. We're getting a little bit late, but do you want to discuss that today, or maybe have discuss that more at the next meeting?
I can wait.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think and Charlie, you too, if you want to look through and compare with what you're seeing with San Diego and bring these up, it could be something else that we recommend.
Yeah,
as
we talked to them
enforcement.
about that.
Yeah, because it's very true. The lack of enforcement is a huge problem. Well, maybe we can discuss that at the next meeting. Okay, any other discussion on this today? Seeing none, we'll move to our final agenda item. Holomua Marine Initiative Talk Story Update. AC member Charles Young will provide an update regarding recent community talk story sessions held across Hawaii Island and ongoing efforts related to the Department of Land and Natural Resources, Division of Aquatic Resources Holomua Marine Initiative. Discussion may follow. There's a link probably also in the agenda of where to go to get more information. Okay, the time is 2:00. Business item 5 is now called to order. Any testimony on business item number 5? Seeing none. Charlie, if you want to go for it.
I'll go very quick with respect to people's time. The link pretty much describes everything. They've kept that up to date, so all the information is on there. That and some feedback, I think, on what the meetings were like. Shane, I think, was at a couple others, so I enjoy receiving his comments as well. But the reason I wanted it on the agenda is, and I made this point earlier, is that this is, this falls completely in the hands of DAR or the DLNR. And, we constantly struggle with the jurisdiction between the county and the state and other entities. And it's been one of my focuses to work across those boundaries, because I think working in those silos we've become some of the victims of that. And, to point that out, and that's why I got interested in the water issues, or the shortage of water and the use of water, because it flows through the entire community. And this is sort of like the same condition. I think you, in your Olelo no Eau, you know, the word Aina appears in there, and a lot of people think Aina is just land, but Aina is ocean as well. It's as important as land is, and the two are connected, and the health of the two are connected. We talked about trees today, which not only help restore sort of climate conditions, but this is what brings the rain to us. This is what brings the water to us. And this is captured in Hawaiian mo'olelo for centuries. So this is why it was important to me that we kind of cross-check across these boundaries, because some of the things that the county does or has responsibilities for in its decision making affects the ocean as well. And so where we can participate and understand more of the impacts to the ocean, the more versatile I think we become at the AC, in the AC. And the biggest thing at this point, and it's been pointed out, in other discussions, is the pollution, which we've all caught up on, and that's been assigned primarily to the wastewater and to golf course runoff. And these falls within the DOH, and the county has a hand in that as well. So that was the reason why I wanted it sort of on the agenda, only to bring up the fact that it's important. The Maui Nav team, the navigation team. So the way it's going to work is there's going to be a team of people selected by DLNR to then select the nav team. The nav team, the navigation team, is going to consist of people that represent the entire Moku. So it's island wide. There's going to be discussions on whether there should be separate nav teams, one for East Hawaii, one for West Hawaii, or one for different Moku. These are all up for discussion at this point. West Hawaii has been sort of a unique in that we have the West Hawaii Regional Fishery Management Area, which stands out in the state. It's probably the largest fishery management area in the state. This West Hawaii has been probably the most active in managing its fisheries from a community based. Probably the one that sticks out the most is the aquarium fish collecting, but in other areas as well. So, and again, these are things that are going to have to be developed. The NAV team is going to be, as I said, representing the districts around the island. And they are supposed to come up eventually with a recommendation to the DAR, the Department of Aquatic Resources, and therefore DLNR, on what are the best management tools to incorporate going farther. Now, this stems all from a statement that Governor Ige made in 2016, in which he called for a 30-30 initiative, whereby in 2030, 30% of Hawaii's waters would be better managed. That's now converted into Holomua. So 2030 is not necessarily a deadline. And the NAV team is open. Nominations are open. You can nominate yourself if you like, and you'll find again all this information on the website. So I mean, I would encourage the action committee members to at least keep track of that. Certainly, I will be, and I can report back from time to time on it. But also to network with the folks that we know. That might be interested or have an interest in it as well. So there's really, no detail in it now. It's sort of very premature. It's very early on, and people are still organizing themselves. But I think they've had and completed all their meetings around the island, if I'm not mistaken. And so right now they're taking the feedback. And again, you can provide feedback on that website as well. So it's all there. And so that's all I have, really for today. Only that I'd like to keep track of it going forward from time to time and report on the progress. I know Shane probably attended more meetings than I did, so he might have a broader view. So I welcome any comment.
Yeah, Shane, you have something to add?
So I think the first thing I'd like to share is the connection between the CDP and the Holomua initiative. I think we can bring it much more clear, and we go to traditional ecological knowledge. The Kumulipo teaches us that what happens on the land happens in the ocean. And I think that's the quick version, but real important, the Holomua, in one of the things that we're working in Kealakekua is the coral restoration, because 97% of the coral is depleted. And in order for us to maintain some sort of restoration effort, what happens on the land is affecting what's going on in the ocean. And so the CDP is all about planning, land use, zoning, all of that stuff, right? We advise all of that stuff. And so the Holomua, to know what's going on through the Holomua initiative, how that governing structure is being created, the county can either help with the process of the 30x30 initiative that Uncle just sort of explained. And so when we are in alignment with traditional ecological knowledge, like something like the Kumulipo, it helps us build a much more balanced or Pono community. And it's not like Uncle Charlie mentioned about how everything is focused with DAR, but it's not just DAR. What DAR does impacts how we will be building our houses, how we will be building our TODs, because they're gonna push out their policies coming from the ocean. And if development is impacting it negatively, then they're gonna come to the county and start making some changes. And so the best thing we can do is be on board, or just be part of the understanding, the multiple pono, just part of the understanding of what's going on in the ocean, so that we can make sure that we're not in such a bigger conflict when that time happens, which is gonna happen quick. We talk about climate change, but more important, the climate has changed since the earth was created. But it's about how humans adapt to that change is what traditional ecological knowledge helps us with this process. And so Holomua initiative is a state process, but it's also international. Every single country that signed on to the UNDRIP, or the United Nations Declaration of Indigenous Peoples' Rights, and the human rights initiatives have also signed on to the Holomoe, some sort of 30 by 30 or oceans. I forget what they called it, but the countries around the world are doing this as well. So it's not just the state of Hawaii that's working on this process. What Uncle talked about was there were meetings around the island, and I attended 4 meetings, and we're trying to develop our navigation team. There's a process that DAR is saying we're gonna choose people who would choose the nav team. And the nav team's responsibility is what we're developing right now. What is their job? What are they to? So majority of it, in perspective, the nav person, the person sits on the nav, will have to represent their district. And so they need to be able to talk to subject matter experts. They need to talk to researchers. They need to talk to people in the community who generationally are been involved in fisheries, as well as recreation users. Everybody needs to be consulted on one particular issue, such as maybe aquarium pet trade industries, or one particular issue of how we cannot even collect seaweed anymore on any of our shorelines because they don't even exist. Anyway, the biggest conversations that I heard coming out of these meetings was jurisdiction. The aquatics division didn't know, like they're asking our island, how do we want to divide up our jurisdictions? And so that's been kind of contentious because you have a young generation who's saying, oh, just east-west. And then you have older generations who are like, no, the 9 county districts should help us understand how place-based knowledge should be implemented, right? Again, home rule, county rule is being implemented in this process as well. Or at least trying to be implemented. And so I think right now that's where it's at, is one, developing what kind of characteristic or what kind of person should be on the NAV team, and 2, what should our jurisdictions look like? How do we make decisions within the NAV team?
Do you think that CDP districts would be an appropriate model?
I actually pushed, that was my recommendation, because except when it came to Kona, I asked for,
South and north.
you know it, Nancy, for my whole life I was saying.
Yeah.
I think, and it makes a lot of sense too, because all of our districts are actually quite unique,
They
you
are,
know? Yeah. and
same
our
with
oceans
trees,
are-
same with trees,
Yeah,
they're,
same with trees,
yeah, same thing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
And we've got the structure set up already, so it'd be a political infrastructure, so to speak, that they could already use the template for that.
the thing about it is the community will decide that. DAR is facilitating the community to choose that, and
Is
so.
it something that an AC for a district should provide input to, do you guys think?
Uncle, I'm gonna defer to Uncle since he's kind of bringing this to the CDP. Is this something that we wanna chime in about jurisdiction and supporting a particular type of jurisdiction, or should we wait, or what? How should we get involved, Uncle?
Yeah, let me digress a little bit first. When the 30-30 initiative came on board, it said that 30% of the ocean would be by 2030 would be better managed.
Yeah.
The idea back then was that 30% of a healthy ocean can support the other
Yeah.
70%, which we can go do anything we want with. So that already segmented and separated people, because the 30 that gets protected might be in one person's district, and the
And,
70 that gets exploited can be in another person's district.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense that maybe the CDP, uh, it might be a good footprint because,
Yeah, that's what
when
I
a
use.
harmony might come through is that,
Yeah,
folks who sit on the NAFTA may be part of the action committee in their own district. So they might be, someone who's attached to both of the jurisdictions across
True.
jurisdictions.
Yeah.
So, and as an example, we're sitting in the action committee and we're talking about the development, the, the STVRs,
Yeah.
and Shane made the comment, I live south, and so do I. And I just don't want to see the development, of that proliferate in the south. But it still could happen because certainly the county, it would be difficult to resist as the population grows. But it then will compound the resources that are, stress on the resources that are in South Kona. So before the county makes that, decision, we're going to rezone or we're going to develop more in the south. That's the time you should start considering what are the impacts going to be in the ocean. And so this is why I think working in the silos, working across the silos makes sense, because much of what we have lost from ocean resource has been a result of what we've done on the land. I think we all agree to that. So we just we don't want to see that continue. But if DAR operates in its silos and the county does, then we're not going to accomplish that
We're
in
not going.
the Holomuas piece. So that's why it's very important to me. And this is why I just want to, recycle it. But I think if the action committee, wants to discuss it further, with regards to making a recommendation, I would certainly support that because, and do so along perhaps the existing ACs boundaries, it would probably make sense. And it may encourage DAR and the county to actually work across those jurisdictions in those areas. So those are my comments but again, it's, as Shane said, they've gone out to ask for opinions. So,
Community.
so there's going to be a lot of it, from all sectors. So, I don't see, I don't see why the action committee cannot make that proposal. But again, we're not in DARA. So I just want to keep folks, keep that in mind. As Shane said, we need to be in the CDP, within the CDP as well. I think we got to respect that. But I think it's a good idea.
Is it something we should put on our next agenda for a question?
I was gonna ask.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, yeah.
If possible, John.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
could.
we could put that on the next agenda for sure. I mean, there's no legal question about us making this recommendation to DAR, right, or making some kind of recommendation. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, thank you both for bringing this forward.
And I can help draft that if
That
you
would be
think
great,
it's,
yeah, be awesome. I really agree with you both on the connection between what we do and what they're trying to accomplish there.
Yeah. We only did it my whole life, that's why, right? Like two governments were always in conflict, and let alone we had the federal government coming in every once in a while, right? It's just, that's, to me, that's part of the discouragement and the, how people have no trust in government, I think, that illusion. Anyway. Thanks, Uncle, that was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you both. Okay, any more discussion on this agenda item? Not, we will move on to public testimony on matters not on the agenda. The time is 2:19. We'll now take public testimony on matters not on the agenda. Testimony may be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Please note the committee may listen and ask brief clarifying questions, but generally will not deliberate or take any action on items not on the agenda. Anyone in person wish to testify? Seeing none. Anyone on Zoom wish to testify? Janice, go for it.
Quickly, another thing I just wanted to say in light of this great discussion, I just thought this meeting was fantastic, you guys, so informational and it was just great. But I wish that everyone would consider the resort proposal again at Keaho in regards to the discussion that we were just having and how it seems impossible to mitigate impacts of what's proposed there. And I believe there is a meeting, not a meeting, I believe it's going to be a hearing on the 15th Monday and I don't have all the information, but I can send it to you. I think Nancy might know if anybody's interested in attending that meeting to hear more about that Keaho proposal and what's going on with it. But it really struck me that it is an opportunity for us to get involved somehow I think the development proposal will severely and forever affect the ocean and the land there. So thanks.
I think the Third Circuit Court hearing in Kona is on the 15th at 2 p.m. But I think the question at the court hearing, from my understanding, is they're trying to, the attorney for Kamehameha Schools is trying to throw out the validity of the contested case that was brought forward. So I think that's the subject of, but I'm gonna go and sit in just to support those guys putting that much work into it. I'll just sit there and listen. But then I think you remember we had a brief discussion about the SMA exemptions that are gonna be coming forward, and that's where community participation can get involved because it'll be going before the Leeward Planning Commission once those SMA applications get submitted, and those are discretionary decisions on the part of the Leeward Planning Commission. So the public can definitely have an impact on those when that happens.
The EIS was already submitted, yeah,
Yeah, it was submitted and accepted, and I think that's what
and accepted.
yeah, that's what the court case is about.
That's the court case, right?
Yeah.
She made a
Contested case. hearing.
requested, yeah.
Yeah.
Nancy, when they submit the SMA, would that be the time for the action committee to opine on what we think of the development?
We could if we decide to. We
Yeah,
got it, what was his name? Alex, Roy gave a presentation on what the types of applications were gonna be, but they weren't, and he's the one that processes them. He said he'd keep us on the loop as far as when he saw them come through his desk. And then we could examine exactly what it was. If this be up to this group of whether we want to provide a testimony to the Leeward Planning Commission or not.
feel like we should.
So will we get a copy of the SMA applications when they submit?
We could request, yeah.
Once the application is accepted, then they'll send the application out to all the agencies, open agencies for comment, and so then at that moment.
Yeah, pass that on.
We usually get that, a version of that. So, sure.
And then it would be probably I mean, how long until it's heard by Leeward after that application?
I think the whole process is like a 90-day process. For a long, yeah, depending on various, yeah, it's a relatively quick turnaround, but.
Okay. Charlie?
Yeah, I just had a question. So on the 15th, is the 15th, right?
Yeah,
The court is making a determination of whether the folks have standing to do a
Yeah.
contested case. Is that what
Yeah.
it is? Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not on the merits.
No, it's not marriage yet.
Okay,
she's doing it pro se. That's a hard thing to do. She couldn't find an attorney to do it.
Mm,
yeah.
Okay, any other testimony on matters not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to proposed new business. Yes.
I have a couple things I'd like to add to the next agenda for discussion. One of them would be to discuss whether we should invite the director of the Department of Public Water Supply to discuss whether they have a study of the water infrastructure and its capacity. and what their measurement of the sustainable capacity of the aquifer is for the Kona area. My other one would be an invitation to the Director of County and Public Works to discuss Laco Street extension and potential alternatives, as well as the Kehoe to Kuakini, what is it? Kehoe to
The bypass.
The
bypass and its potential alternatives or other uses, since we.
I think under chapter 16, we can ask for updates from many of the agencies. So that's within our kuleana to invite them.
So and the reason for this is I've heard over and over again and direct interaction with the Department of Public Water Supply, all kinds of different measurements of what their infrastructure capacities are, what the aquifer's capacity is. I want to put them on some sort of record that says this is what we have, or we don't know, or, you know, some information. Public water supply.
Yeah.
Same thing with the county public works. We have these two roadways which were mentioned in the community development plan quite heavily, that have gone nowhere in 20 years. And really, we need to know, are we abandoning these possible routes of traffic? Is there an alternative? What can we do for our community to get traffic moving in this town?
I support.
Yeah.
Support.
Yeah, I supported it. So we have on our next agenda to
Yeah, I support that.
I agree to vote on writing a letter to those people.
And we will talk about Bill 147 for sure.
Yeah.
And I'll put Holomua back on.
Okay.
Anything else?
On the Kehoe,
The
Kehoe development,
I think if we need to wait until if
The
the
court-
SMA applications come in,
Yeah.
but there's
Okay.
nothing to discuss at this point, because we haven't seen their request yet.
Yeah. Just one comment. I think you should be prepared for a very long meeting.
yes.
We've had the bypass on a couple times, or we've had it on for reconsideration, and that became a very long meeting. And
We
I
might
think
have to do that.
I think the
one
water
separate.
too, just to give, the right amount of attention to the subjects.
Both are heavy subjects.
all I'll say for that is if it has the public's interest, and if people want to discuss it, maybe that's what we should be discussing.
No, I don't think Uncle is trying to get away from it. I think he's saying that if we wanna allow for community to come forward and share, we gotta give them the
Absolutely.
opportunity. And so to have it in one meeting is not I think that's
Yeah.
what Uncle is saying.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah,
think
or-
for the next
It's
meeting,
not
he just
enough.
wants to have us vote on writing a letter.
That's what I think Uncle needs clarity on, is that
Yeah,
the
like-
next meeting, we just couldn't talk about writing a letter.
Yeah,
Yeah, my motion would only be to discuss at the next meeting, writing an invitation to the directors.
Yeah.
To come and provide a
Not
presentation.
the merits or not the
Yeah.
content of it,
Yeah.
but just yeah. We might have to
Yeah, I-
hold our meeting down someplace else.
Yeah.
Like Port Airport.
The date of the date of our next,
so when it, she'd like to know the date of the
July
next.
14th.
I'm sorry, what,
July 14th.
14, yeah.
Oh, next year. I'm going to
Okay,
New Zealand.
any other agenda items? Janice, you wanna add something?
I just wanted to say that maybe it's good to put Kehoe on the agenda just in case something comes up between now and then. I just don't know what the timing might be. So, I mean, you don't have to discuss it, but at least if it's there, it's a public record.
Well, we have a few weeks to get things on the agenda. If it's submitted into the county then we can add it.
Yeah, we'll definitely put it on.
Okay, gotcha, thanks.
Okay, and if you have any additional items, please email the chair, vice chair, and CDP team at cdp@hawaiicounty.gov.
Thank you.
Okay, and then announcements, Malama Amakapa Community Workdays at Koloko Honokoha National Park. We have one on Thursday, June 11th from 8:30 to 12, Thursday, July 9th from 8:30 to 12, and Saturday, July 11th from 8:30 to 12. Also, pardon me, I had this on my calendar, the COA, the airport master plan update
Yeah.
is happening Monday, June 22nd from 6 to 7, I believe in council chambers. Where they're gonna continue the update for the master plan of the airport. They've expressed desire to align with the Kona CDP, so I think it's a good opportunity to go check it out, see how they're doing.
Nice.
The planning department is seeking applications for the Kona CDP Action Committee. The application can be found at the mayor's office website under boards and commissions. And the next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, July 14th, 2026. And with that, we'll now adjourn the meeting. The meeting is adjourned at 2:31. Thank you, everyone, for the long meeting. Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you
Great
for
discussions.
Running the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank
Aloha.
you.
Aloha.